Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's my pleasure to get together with you as we do most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central. Talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. Regardless if you're an affiliate or a white label partner, what you and I do as technical advisors is help small businesses qualify for funding. We help them access a minimum of $100,000. And we have a few different tools in our tool chest, a few different arrows in our quiver to help people. Today is not new information, but I think it's important. So let me scroll up. So I'm on the guaranteedfunding.org website. Each of you have been provided or should have been provided a link to a free website that looks just like this, whereby the forms are linked to you, so you get credit. So we spent a lot of time recently talking about the credit and funding program, which is great. We've talked about quick cash quite a bit, which is awesome. But what we have failed to do is to go back and talk about our legacy program, and we commonly refer to it as access to capital program. I want to make sure that you're all familiar with, first of all, that it continues to be available. And it is truly the no upfront option, no cost upfront to the client. So we're going to go through that a bit and answer questions. So on the home page of your replicated site or on the home page of Guaranteed Funding, it starts with a little brief video, which if you've not viewed, we encourage to do so, and the form. The reason that the form, which is of course coded to you as long as you're using your link, the reason it's so far up on the page is it's called on top of the fold. So in other words, when someone uses your link and goes to your landing page, it looks just like this. This should show without them having to scroll down. Now, do they have to watch the video? Of course not, but it's what we want to do is provide the tools so you can create exposure, but you don't have to be the messenger. You don't have to tell the story over and over. But I want to talk for a couple minutes and just do a refresher on how the access to capital program works. The reason being is we're seeing a lot of clients come to us and they either don't have any money up front or don't want to pay any money up front. Well, we know that the credit and funding program has a refundable setup fee. How much that is depends upon if you're an affiliate or a white label partner, but the access to capital here has no upfront cost, literally no upfront cost, and we're going to talk more about that. So let's go through the highlights of this offering, answer questions, and make sure we all understand the mechanics, because I think some of the clients that you're bringing to the table, or that some of you are bringing to the table, might be better suited for access to capital because there's just literally no upfront cost. The agreement states no upfront cost. So what are the highlights? Well, again, the same $100,000 guarantee exists. And so that does not differ between the access to capital and the credit and funding. The $100,000 guaranteed is the same. So that is not a point of differentiation. Let's scroll back down. All US-based businesses qualify. That is not a differentiation. Same for both. First round of funding quickly, same for both. As I mentioned, this is a difference. There is a cost for the credit and funding to enroll. There is no upfront cost for the access to capital, the page we're on here now. Again, there are no minimum credit scores or minimum time in business to enroll. So if we were to drill down, what's the material differences between what we're going to call access to capital here versus credit and funding? The difference, two differences. One difference is there's an upfront cost with credit and funding. Well, if you just stop with that, you'd say, well, shoot, then I'm going to refer everybody over to the access to capital because there's no upfront cost and people like that better. Well, but there's the other side of the equation. Why is there a refundable setup fee for credit and funding? It's because we include at no cost helping them improve their credit, improve their capacity, and improve their collateral. We will provide the credit sweep for free. We'll do credit boost for free. We literally transfer receivables over for free. So there is a refundable setup fee for the credit and funding program. They get it back, but there's a bunch of benefits. And so we need the refundable setup fee to be able to afford to provide all these benefits. In contrast, let's go over to the access to capital on the home page. We talk about building the 3 C's. So it's still part of the model, but if they should need help with credit sweep, it's not free. They have to pay for it. If they need collateral, it's not free. They have to pay for it. So it's really a very simple and easy to understand difference between the two. Credit and funding has a refundable setup fee, refundable, they get it back after the capital raise, but it includes at no additional charge the help in getting the clients qualified by addressing the 3 C's. In contrast, we don't package in the free credit sweep. We don't package in the free collateral. It's a la carte here because frankly, not everyone needs it. Let's talk a little bit about the financial aspect further. So there is a refundable deposit. There is a refundable deposit for access to capital or access to funding, whatever we want to call it. But it's not up front. It is after their first round of capital. After their first round of capital. When? After their first round of capital. Thus, this is an accurate statement. There's no upfront cost. There's not. You can go through this and click on it, and you'll pull up the terms and conditions, and you'll see there's no strings attached. There's no upfront cost. There is a $2,500 refundable deposit, but it is collected after their first tranche of funding. Well, when will their first tranche of funding be? As it states in the agreement, in the terms and conditions, because everything needs to be in writing, we will work with them immediately from the time that they enroll, without them paying anything, without asking them to pay anything. We will look at funding offers for them. In fact, we'll send them a 1-page funding app that will allow us to look at funding offers for them with no hard inquiries and no commitment. We'll just get them offers, and they can accept any or all the offers they want, or if they don't get any offers from the traditional lenders, we have a second chance lender program that will guarantee them first tranche financing. And you might say, oh, well, that sounds like high risk, like some sort of subprime lending scheme. No, it's 0%. So then we're able to proceed with them, help them build their loan package, review their credibility. But again, what did I say earlier? If they need credit sweep, it's not included for free because it's not priced in. If they want the free assistance with the 3 C's, helping improve credit, capacity, and collateral, then the credit and funding is a good option. Why are we discussing this today? Because what we don't want you to do is to go out and enroll clients in the credit and funding program, and then they get the invoice for the refundable setup fee, which is clarified, and it provides assistance in getting them qualified for funding. So there's no surprises to it. But if they get that invoice and they're like, oh, I can't afford that, you've enrolled them in the wrong program, right? They should have been enrolled instead over on the home page, which is again on your free landing page we've provided you, because then they have no upfront cost and we help them get their first round of funding quickly. Everyone will get what we call first tranche financing. How much they'll get will vary based upon their credibility. And so they may start out and they get 10,000, they may get 20,000, they may get 50,000. We've had a few people, it's not the norm, get over 100,000 in first tranche financing. Everyone will get at least 2,500, at least 2,500. That's the minimum. That's guaranteed. It's in writing. So let's summarize and then open it for discussion. What we're trying to bring awareness to in today's training is that there's two very important differences between what we'll call access to capital and the credit and funding. The first of which is there is an upfront cost for credit and funding. Why is there an upfront cost? Because there's cost in time, energy, and resources for us to help people get qualified, because we're helping them with credit for free, including the credit suite. We're helping them build their capacity, and I've got a success story for that in just a moment I'll tell you about, for free. And we transfer collateral for free. So what you can't let happen is someone to think, oh, well, if there's an advance fee, then it's a scam. Well, that's bullshit. Absolutely. Oh, so you think that we should just go through and spend our time, energy, and money to remove negative, add positive, help you with your capacity, transfer collateral, but we shouldn't receive any money for that? That's craziness, right? But if they're of that mindset, hey, I don't want to pay anything up front, great, we have a different program for you. And it's called our access to capital. And there is absolutely no upfront cost. There is a refundable deposit, but we don't even ask you for that until after your first round of funding. Everyone will get a first round or first tranche of funding, and that typically will be in around a week. How much you'll get for your first tranche, we don't know. We need to get you in and get your funding offers. So I'm going to stop talking and start listing. What questions or concerns do any of you have on the difference between these two, and how maybe you should spend a little bit more attention on this offering for people that have an inability or an unwillingness to pay the refundable setup fee? All right, so Timothy's asking about dollars again to the client. So on the access to capital program, there's no upfront cost. We've covered that. But I think Timothy's point is, how much is the refundable deposit? And the answer is, it depends. Are you a white label partner asking that question, or are you an affiliate? Because white label partners determine the cost. It's up to the white label partner how much the refundable deposit is. So I don't know what the answer is if you're a white label partner, because literally you decide that. If you're an affiliate feeding people in, then the refundable deposit, which is not collected up front, not collected until after their first tranche, is $2,500. And that we share that back with you, the affiliate, so that generates money for you. Plus, as an affiliate, you're making 3% of the client's capital raise. So it's great income for affiliates. But it's just so important to understand, if you're a white label partner, you're controlling the client's contract and you're controlling the client's pricing. So if you're a white label partner and you wanted to make the refundable deposit for the access to capital, which is not collected up front, it's collected after their first tranche of capital. If you wanted to make that $3,000 or $2,500 or $2,000 or $1,000 or $100, I mean, it's entirely up to you. If you're a white label partner, you control client pricing. You control client pricing as a white label partner. As an affiliate, it's structured and standardized. That's why when these pages, these replicated sites are created, it makes a difference if you're an affiliate or a white label partner. If you're an affiliate, then these boxes for enrollment are linked to you for tracking, but it takes everyone to the same terms and conditions. The general one we'll call the house version. If you're a white label partner, it has to be different. Then after these forms are filled out, it has to take them to your terms and conditions, because your terms and conditions may very well be different in terms of pricing. You control that. Make sense? Okay, so let's go back and see what questions that anyone has, because If you have clients that are not willing to pay the refundable setup fee for the credit and funding program, can we defer that? Yes, we can defer that, and we defer that by plugging them into Quick Cash. But if you have someone that just simply doesn't want to pay the refundable setup fee, they don't want help for free to improve their credit, to improve their capacity, and I still need to give you that success story, and they don't want the free collateral, then move them over to the correct program, which would be access to capital. So I want to give that success story in just a second, but anyone have any questions or comments on the difference between these two? In essence, what we're doing is the same. It's just how it's bundled, how it's packaged to better meet different audiences' needs. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the success story. So we had a client that received their financing yesterday, and we're going to talk about it for a moment. So this client maybe needed a new vehicle. The truth is they wanted a new vehicle for themselves. But what we said is, well, let's not package it that way. Let's package it as a business vehicle. And he's like, well, my business doesn't include anything I need a vehicle for. And we said, well, you could drive for Uber, right? You could drive for Lyft. He's like, well, I don't drive for Uber or Lyft, but you could, right? Well, yeah. Okay. So let's go get you a vehicle that is for the purpose of business. So that way it's titled under the business name, financed under the EIN, 100% deductible. So we did that, and we helped the individual with capacity, because what happens with capacity? If we don't have documented income, enough income, it limits our borrowing capacity. So one of the things we do with credit and funding, here we go, is help them with credit, help them with capacity, help them with collateral. Now, the same client had some credit issues when he first came to us. We were able, where he went for a similar type of vehicle, and the dealership literally wanted $40,000 down. Down payment was going to be $40,000. We worked with that client for just over a month, resolve the credit, resolve the capacity. Client, it makes over $500,000 a year now on paper. And the client walked out with a brand new black on black SUV, well over $100,000. It's in his garage right now, paid 0% down. And it's a company vehicle because he plans at some point driving for Uber or driving for Dash or Lyft, Lyft. So that is a success story on what we would consider equipment financing. A lot of clients will want working capital, so that's a bit different, but a great success story for that client. So if you've run into anyone that wants new or better or different transportation, we can approach it very similarly. We have some dealerships that we work with closely, and even if the dealership, for instance, the client yesterday, the dealership they bought from is nowhere near their home or business. They'd never been to that dealership. They didn't go to that dealership, but we were able to get financing set up Saturday, and the client had that vehicle delivered to them yesterday evening. Great success story. So if you know of any small business owners that wants a company car that's fully tax deductible, thank you, Section 179 of the IRS tax code, we can facilitate that. But that was a slight digression from our primary point. Our primary point today is to make sure that each of you are familiar that we can use the access to capital program where the client has no upfront cost. No upfront cost. Who has questions, comments, concerns on the access to capital variant, which again, it does not include the free credit sweep. We'll evaluate their credit. We can give them advice on credit, but the credit sweep is not free. It is packaged and free in the credit and funding program, but it has a refundable setup fee. They will evaluate their personal financial statement and their balance sheet to look at their collateral. If they need collateral, it is not free in the Access to Capital program. Do they have to buy collateral? Of course not, but we'll evaluate if there's a shortfall. In contrast, we provide every client for free collateral in the credit and funding program. So essentially, it depends on how you want to present this to your clients. If you want to have a consultative approach, you could ask them a few probing questions and then determine which of these two options is better for them, right? Based upon the difference. The end goal is the same. The guarantee is the same. The difference is the packaging and how that pricing works. But I plead with you, if you have clients that are broke, enrolling them into the credit and funding program where they get an invoice for the refundable setup fee, and then they're all up in arms. Well, I was told there's no upfront cost. Well, no, there is a refundable setup fee. There is a refundable setup fee for credit and funding. Why? Because we have hard cost to be able to do these things. These things are not free to us, and it's not our responsibility to foot the bill for the client. If they have shitty credit, shitty capacity, and or shitty collateral, it should not be your and my responsibility to pay out of pocket. Can we defer it? Absolutely, we can defer it, and we defer it by getting them into the quick cash program as well. But frankly, it's cleaner just to bring them over into the Access to Capital. If they're broke or unwilling to pay anything at enrollment, then use the Access to Capital program. Who has questions, comments, concerns on the difference between the two, the mechanics, the value proposition? Anything that we need to cover, because I know that we spend most of our time talking about credit and funding, and I feel really good about it because it's a packaged approach. If they need credit sweep, it's included. They need help with capacity, it's included. They need collateral, it's included. We provide them collateral for free, $10,000 value for free. But if they are broke or unwilling to pay the refundable setup fee, then you're on the wrong program. We need to get them into the Access to Capital. Questions, comments, concerns today on the difference between the two, the mechanics. All right, Jerry's asking about comp for affiliates. So yes, Jerry and all of you who are affiliates. So you will make the same 3% off the client's capital raise in either program. So rather it be this one or the credit and funding, the comp is the same. You're paid 3%. So you're not giving up anything, but you're making it easier for clients to enroll where they have what? No upfront cost. Now, if you're a white label partner, much different, because you're determining what the performance fees are for both credit and funding, as well as Access to Capital. And so you're controlling that. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns that anyone has that I can help with today? Not new information, not a new program, not a change, just simply trying to clarify with you and our distribution team the important differences between these two approaches. Now, I know a lot of people would say, well, with credit and funding, why don't we just eliminate the upfront cost? But it comes back, or the refundable setup fee that's upfront. Well, there's a mismatch then, right? How in the world do we afford to enroll hundreds of clients, well, thousands of clients a month, and now it's our responsibility to pay and incur all the time, effort, and work to transfer all this collateral for free? And a broke person will typically say, well, charge me on the back end, right? Get it from me in the back end. Well, we'll do that over here on the Access to Capital. There's no upfront cost. There's no upfront cost. But also, we're not incurring the hard cost, expenses, effort, and energy to provide these three things up front for free. That's a mismatch. So if they want these things for free, which includes $10,000 value for collateral, then this is the right program and they have a refundable setup fee. Hopefully that makes sense. It's an equity perspective for people to expect to not pay anything, but get resources, to get value, to receive services. That's either ignorance or greed or illiteracy. I mean, that's too good to be true. So yes, we can certainly defer the refundable setup fee. There's no upfront cost here, but don't expect us to pay our paralegals to go fix your credit. Don't expect us for free to transfer a bunch of assets over. That's too good to be true. See, so there's a subtle difference between the two in terms of pricing and packaging. All right, Timothy's asking again, worried about, are we getting rid of the deferral? No, we'll keep the deferral. So you can enroll people in the credit and funding program. They get enrolled. We will invoice them for the $999 setup fee, refundable setup fee. But if they want the deferral, then we can defer it. The way that we defer it, though, is specifically using the quick cash. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.